Sanbrani Makai, and welcome to another daring episode of Eat Daily Thetha SABC 1. And today we sit and we look into the effects of COVID-19 by bizang coronavirus in how many people out of the many that were isolated and had to go home for the 21 days actually had to stand at the front of the line. Abantu benza umsebenzi lona ongekho lula, lona dangerous, and phinde futhi lona ofaka impilo zabo nemndeni yabo ekingeni.
Lena ke le dumedisa ka lebitso ke nna Nicolette wa Gamashile ngwana wa kwa Bushbuckridge Mapulaneng ena re tshwareleng lona leme la matsogo ke sese Andisa wa ga ke bashe dingaka bora ditaba manese and our cashiers that are at the front line of being able to take care of us during this lockdown and during this outbreak ya yona twatsi ya COVID-19 re a leboga as South Africa borwa. We really want to show our gratitude because at the end of the day, without you being the first people who we see when we step out of our homes knowing that there is an imminent danger out there, there is nothing that we could have done as South Africa without your services. But now the question that says is, how do you then take care of yourself as an essential service person or somebody that is actually manufacturing and producing and supplying an essential product in South Africa in this very trying time? Who is taking care of your family, your children? We know that we've had an episode where we had a conversation about education and the lockdown. Now, who is teaching them at home right now when they are unable to go to school? Who is taking care of our frontliners, our essential services and our essential suppliers? Because that for me is quite an important conversation, Melody, because I think they are the last people that we speak about. But remember, Melody Fellow Studio, we're going to be talking to you also at home through our social media channels or 011-339-1315. And remember, you can send your voice notes or your video messages to 072-316-1329.
And kanjalo futhi ke ithuba lesithola namhlanje ukuthi sibonge umsebenzi abantu abangempela abaphumela ngaphandle to go risk their lives for thina. But also we get to understand the stories of labantu laba sithi nabo sithi sibahalelisele ngemsebenzi yabo no futhi for being brave. Kuno sithi we'll be speaking to later on the show, who's also, of course, we've spoken to her before, who's a clinical psychologist who touches into various things. But at this very point, we get to kind of understand the story of Usisinaleti Khatebe, who came home and she was then let known Wutini COVID-19 is something that might have affected her. Please have a look at the video as she tells the story.
I went to the UK, staying with my cousin. When I arrived there is kind of when really things started kind of slowly coming to my attention. It wasn't so much that people weren't going, there were a lot less people going out in popular places that would normally just be saturated with human beings, and I noticed that. And then kind of started having discussions with my friends who, some of whom are doctors, and they were telling me the stats. I mean, it was like 80% of UK residents are gonna get COVID-19. I was like, oh. So I take an emergency flight that night and I arrive in Thetha the next morning, obviously having worn my N95 mask and gloves and kind of just flown on one of the most emptiest flights I've ever been on. Luckily, I was absolutely surrounded with nobody around me, not next to me, not in front of me, not on the side to me, which gave me kind of peace of mind. I land, I go through the test, which is basically a fever test. I don't show any symptoms, so they let me through. So I get to the doctor's suite, and obviously I'm wearing my gloves and opening doors, and we're just trying to make sure that it's contained, whatever the potential COVID that I might have. So he takes my vitals, he checks my saturation, he checks my breathing, my fever, or rather temperature. He checks my chest to feel if I have any crumples in my chest. Absolutely nothing. I'm completely asymptomatic, except for the fact that I'm telling him that I cannot breathe easily. So because this is a novel virus, and that word novel means that it's new, we don't know what to expect from it, we don't know what mutations could possibly come from it. He's also not, I think, ready, prepared, aware of what to do. So he says to me, okay, I think you've got asthma. And I said, in my late 20s. How is it possible that I have asthma now? And he's just like, yeah, I think it's asthma. I'm gonna prescribe you a pump and I'm gonna prescribe you anxiety medication. But he, of course, he writes me a prescription to go, or rather a script to go to Lancet Laboratories to go test for COVID. I get there, walk in, and a nurse takes a swab from my nose, which is essentially just an earbud going straight into your brain through your nostril. And she takes my bloods. She's not wearing gloves, which drove me nuts. And I mentioned it because if, let's say, I have it and I transfer it to her, or she's been with a patient that has it and transfers it to me. But, you know, again, novel flu, a lot of people just don't know what's going on. So I get home and I've been quarantining myself for 10 days. I was meant to get my results for my COVID-19 in 2 days. So I tested Monday. I was meant to have it by Wednesday. Wednesday comes around, nothing. During that time, I get a phone call from one of my friends who says, listen, have you been showing any symptoms? I say, why would you ask me that? They say to me, okay, listen, do you remember when I went missing for like a couple of minutes or something like that, and I went to go say hello to a friend? I said, yeah, I remember. This is in South Africa that this happened. And then we got into an Uber together and we hugged each other goodbye. Yeah, so that person who I hugged in that period of time has now told me that they have COVID-19. And now it's almost like, okay, cool. So now I've been in contact with somebody that potentially might have COVID-19 because they had somebody that has it. That's how it moves. It's like a flu, how a regular flu moves, where you're just standing near somebody or somebody, you know, coughs on you, they've just sneezed and then they give you a hug, you know? So I'm like, okay, fine. So finally, there's potential proof that I actually might have COVID-19.
And then how she got to the point where she found out she could potentially now have COVID-19. And they say, you know, the virus itself doesn't move. It's people who move it around. But we do have Naledi on the line right now. We're going to be chatting to her a little bit about, you know, what happens after? What's the aftermath? How does she feel about the essential services that she was getting from the people who are at the front line? I mean, she's already mentioned a little bit about the fact that, you know, the nurse that was treating her or assisting her, asa paradi gloves, she was afraid already at that specific point, not knowing her own results. Perhaps maybe I might give it to this person, or they might give it to me. And can you imagine, Melody, had she actually given it to the nurse, how many other people than the nurse is passing it on to?
So quickly in a very short time. And I think probably this is the best time to bring in Sister Naledi. Sister Naledi, welcome to Daily Thetha. And of course, I mean, we want to find out, how are you feeling right now after all of this?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm actually feeling pretty good now. It's been a couple of weeks that I've managed to kind of get to a point of recovery.
Yeah. Naledi, I just want to speak a little bit about the fact that you say, you know, you felt like you could not breathe, as if somebody was sitting on your chest, and then argo and a hammer. When you go to the doctor, you tell the doctor, I can't breathe. The doctor says to you, no, it might be asthma. This is now during this outbreak of COVID. How are you feeling at this point when he says to you it's asthma? I know you say I'm in my late 20s, there's no way I could have asthma. Did he look at other symptoms?
So that was the interesting thing about it, is I think because it's a novel virus, and if you normally see what a fact like, you would expect a fever, you'd expect a cough, you'd expect a sneeze of some sort. He didn't see any of that. And so I can imagine from his perspective as well, being confused by what I was saying, but it was a lot to take in, the fact that I could not breathe, and I couldn't tell him that. It literally had to depend on my words. Like, I cannot breathe. It feels like my chest is tight, and he's taking my vitals and there's no proof of it. So it really just became a matter of me knowing myself.
And just a follow up on that, at this point, have you explained to him that I have traveled to the UK, I've had to take an emergency flight back home, I am suspecting that I might have contracted COVID-19?
Yeah, so that was fortunately my advantage, that I traveled made me able to get the test.
Yeah.
Because I don't think if I just walked in with those or lack of symptoms that he would have tested me. It was because I traveled that he said, okay, fine, here's a script, go to the lab, get a test for COVID-19.
And you know, it makes me think, Sister Lady, I mean, about how your friends received it when you actually realized, okay, as in, this thing is happening. Did your parents and family understand when you explained to them, ukuthi ngathi lento ikuphethe?
So this is the thing. I had the conversation the night or the day before I felt my first symptom with a group of my friends. And so I think initially everyone thought that I was making it up because we'd been talking about it so much and you start to create symptoms in your head. But I had to really be like, okay, guys, I'm telling you the way that I feel is unusual for me because it's different when you feel such a significant symptom like a loss of breath, a difficulty breathing. It's not something that you can miss. But yeah, my family as well was very excited for the information that I had for them. It was the first it was really just happening at that time. And so they were just confused. And so they were trying to call somebody else who knew more and kind of really knew what to do at that point.
But then, doesn't it take you back to the Leskati lab actually you do have COVID-19 and maybe if they told you which you could have infected another 5 people, how did you feel ngaleso?
Yeah, that's probably the worst feeling is the guilt of thinking that you could have spread it or like accelerated its spread. But I am quite confident in the fact that the moment I knew the information, or rather the way that I took serious precautionary measures to make sure that I did it. I had the advantage of being friends with a doctor who kind of pre-warned me about some of the things that might have to come around it and the way that you'd have to act. So I took those into account. But again, it was a novel, like you guys said, I got to the nurse station and she wasn't wearing gloves and now, the chain is broken through that.
And Naledi, just to quickly bring in the nurses and the doctors that have been helping you throughout, the time when you were infected, do you feel that some of them, are a bit, they're just trying to do what they know how to do? And I think that's mostly in specific areas that you're going to go and a doctor is going to do what they know to do and try and help you because that's their call of duty before they even think about putting on the gloves and all those things.
No, I mean, I don't doubt it for a second. And I honestly think that everybody is putting their best foot forward and trying to do their best. And I think particularly at that time, it really was, it was such new information that people really did not know. I honestly don't think that she would have done it had she known, the level of contamination. I think it was literally just everything just happening in real time. It's all playing out as we're going along. Everybody's learning on the job. And honestly, I think that they're heroes for stepping up and essentially risking their lives and their families' lives to take care of the rest of the country.
Sister Lady, we are very happy that you have recovered and you are in process of full recovery. We do ask Klampe, what words would you like to share with Abonesi and Abantu who possibly might be in the situation you are in?
I think for just like the rest of South Africa, the most important thing that you guys can do is to take care of yourselves. I think that's the greatest act of kindness that you can do. If you take care of yourself, you can take care of those around you. So, just like from basic practices, personal hygiene, and if you do feel sick, self-isolate, pull yourself out of the chain of contamination if possible. As for the nurses and the doctors, I mean, I don't think we could be any more grateful for everything that they're doing. And it's really up to us to kind of make sure that we can take care of ourselves so we don't put a strain on the healthcare system.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, Sister Lady, thank you so much yet again for being with us like Thetha and sharing your story and journey. We are from her part and how things can work. But also, she's not the only person. After the break, we continue with other South Africans that deal on the front line with COVID-19 on a daily basis.
Back on Daily Thetha. We're speaking to the people that are at the front line of the lockdown and COVID-19. But South Africa, people that are giving us essential services, but also supplying us with the essential products that we are currently in need of. And again, a very big thank you. We are grateful as South Africa. Now, when she started her company, her name is Nicole Coco Nelson. She never ever imagined 2020 Otlaba Ali, one of those people who are at the front line of actually producing probably one of the most important products that we all need right now. We're going to be speaking to Nicole Coco Nelson, who is really producing hand sanitizer as part of the range of products that her business actually does produce, and asking her, what does this mean to her life? Now, we know, Melody, at the end of the day, people are going to look at her and say, but she's an entrepreneur, maybe umaka chelete. But we then have to go back and say, is she serving by sacrifice? Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
How are you feeling, Nicole?
I'm good. I am thankful that you guys have considered me to be a part of your series.
Yeah. Look, I think we can jump straight into the conversation. Your business naturally, traditionally, is a hair and beauty company. But obviously, hand sanitizer became one of the products that you guys were supplying and producing. Talk to us about how you ended up being one of the main suppliers of essential services in the country right now.
Okay, so just to give you a little bit of context, so our range comprises of skin, hair, as well as hygiene products. And of course, within our hygiene range came our sanitizers. So, of course, a lot of people knew that we formulated and manufactured sanitizer in light of the pandemic hitting our shores. We were inundated with requests to manufacture sanitizers as a result of the shortage in major retail chains.
And do you feel that at this point, as someone who's a parent, that you had to make this risk? Because a lot of people had the choice to say, look, I do not want to risk. I have two little ones like you as a mother. And did you have to make the tough decisions to say, I have to risk for South Africa and for the well-being for my children?
Yeah, I had to make a tough decision, and I think I was presented with an opportunity more than anything to demonstrate that we always speak about our brand Made by Coco serving people, the environment and skin for a high integrated good, because we use plant-based ingredients. And I think this was the opportunity for me to be about my business and to demonstrate in the flesh and in real life just how this brand products we manufacture will serve the environment and people for a higher good. So the decision I took was to continue operations and for my team and I to play our part, because that's essentially what it's about. It's bigger than us, and it is an opportunity for us to curb the spread of this virus in an effort to fast track our sort of our ability or as a nation to get back on track.
Yeah. And Coco, was it hard for you to convince your team to say, guys, it's time to work and this is the time where we can get to show off our services?
No, look, we're all, my entire team, in fact, majority of us are all from a place called El Dorado Park, and we come from nothing. And this is an opportunity for us to demonstrate that we are in business. So it wasn't difficult for me to convince my team. In fact, my team were already asking me if we were going to continue post the shutdown. And of course, that was a time when I had to make the decision with my executive team, get us registered as essential services, organize the permits for my teams, and ensure that we are practicing taking extra precautionary measures in an effort to ensure that we stay safe and healthy so that we can continue serving.
Let's talk a little bit about those risks that you're talking about, Nicole. How are you guys, maybe take us through your day-to-day. How are you guys making sure that you are putting in precautionary measures to kind of curb those risks?
Sure. So at first, I legitimately booked a guest house. I had my team staying in a guest house for at least a week. We did make the decision to get them all to live within one of my houses because it became more cost effective for us. We've got transport, so they don't even take public transportation. We've got a transportation company that picks them up in one location, drops them off at work. I mean, we go as far as taking temperature. We have our masks. I've got vitamins and supplements that my team take every morning when they enter outdoors. So, everything is just it's in-house, and we're just ensuring that we minimize contact with the outside world so that we're not compromised. My team have taken the decision and the commitment not to engage and interact with their family members, just for the purposes of us ensuring that he is affected or risk.
And just quickly, sorry, Melody, just quickly tell us a little bit about how that is. How is that challenge of not seeing your family members and not seeing your kids, and when you do see them, having to, really restrict yourself from the intimacy that you would normally share?
So, I mean, amongst myself and my production supervisor, who are parents. So, I mean, I had to up and my sensitive. So I did everything I could to time with my kids. And then obviously on Monday will be the last time with them for at least another 2 to 3 weeks until depending on the outcome of the second extension. And I mean, it's difficult because my son is 5, my daughter's 11. And I mean, they know that I've put a lot into this business. I'm an entrepreneur by nature, but it's not easy for me not being around my kids. And I mean, prior to me I hadn't seen them for 2 weeks. And I mean, it's decisions I have to take in order for me to just ensure that I'm not only keeping and I'm keeping my staff members, sustaining my staff members, but I'm also serving, because the reality is that it is bigger than me. And I think my kids understand that.
All right. And just quickly, is it worth it, Nicole?
Well, yeah, I would definitely say it's worth it for more than one reason. This was an opportunity I was presented with to build revenue and cash flow. I'm going to be very, very honest with the viewers and with you guys. Yeah. Because as an entrepreneur who comes from nothing, it might look like I come from a lot. It might sound like I come from a lot. I come from nothing.
Coco,
and
I wanted to just say that we're very proud of you. And I mean, I know El Dorado very well. And I want to say it's not just nothing, but we call it humble beginnings when it comes to representing what we are. And we want to thank you as Daily Thetha for being able to speak to us and share your story and journey. And I wish you and your team a successful productivity during this time, but also health and wealth, as they call it. And of course, all the way from El Dorado Park, she's a mother and entrepreneur, but also someone who's taken it upon herself and the team, which is helping the production with the sanitizer. I'm looking forward to a bit later speaking to Usis Kosijiani, who is a clinical psychologist, who gets to check and talk about the psychological impact during these decision making. All of this after the break.
Roamgele back on Daily Thetha. Nzera peta about the frontliners and those who are giving us essential services, but also supplying us with essential products in South Africa right now during Yona lockdown Rona. We're going to be speaking to clinical psychologist Kosi Giane, who's going to tell us a little bit about some of the psychological effects. Because one of the things, and I think we had another conversation, right, mental health during the lockdown. But we never look at the other people that are having to wake up every single day and still go to work so that their patriotism can be shown in taking care of South Africa. Renali and Kosi Giane on the line, and welcome to Daily Thetha, says Kosi.
Thank you so much. Great to be back.
It's fantastic. Yes, we've seen a lot of people in South Africa. I mean, South Africa in this generation, we are the part of the first generation that's dealt with such an extreme case, you know, when you're speaking about in the last 3 decades. And now we have a new group of young nurses, a new group of soldiers, a new group of doctors. Do you believe they understood that one day they'll have to take a stand, big fearless cut of a series like an epidemic, like a COVID-19?
I don't think any of us was prepared for this. And, you know, it's one thing to imagine what it will be like. And hence, there was a lot of that anticipatory anxiety before lockdown. You know, but the reality can only be understood at the knife edge. In other words, it's not conceptual, it is real. So we are all having to stretch ourselves beyond our imagination to grapple with this reality.
But
I mean, I think it's fair to say for our health workers and all the people that in the work are really holding right now.
But Sis Kosi, I mean, we're not even just speaking about people who went to school for it. Who just decided to dedicate themselves as cashiers. And who's a cashier that has to go to work mentally prepare over the years. How do you think they are tackling this? Are they seeing the gap of the money, or I need to do what I need to do?
Yeah, I think, you know, the expression, it says they are caught between a rock and a line of fire, literally. So, you know, and all of us are in some way, but it is tempted to Aifani. You know, so those people, it's about trying to dodge the bullet of hunger and needing to put food on the table, while and in doing so, you risk the line of fire from the virus, which is an invisible enemy that's lurking everywhere where you can't see.
And perhaps maybe we can talk about that invisible enemy. You know, sometimes these people are still human beings. They're still human beings with family. Some of the doctors, I mean, that are coming out where some of these doctors have newborn babies. They can't even help their wives with the children because they're trying to stay as far away as possible from a potential spreading the virus. How are they right now psychological, in their psyche, in your opinion?
Yeah. You know, we can't even begin to grapple with the magnitude and the irony because on the one hand, you know, as healthcare workers, we have to take a Hippocratic oath.
Yes.
That says we are there to serve.
Yes.
You know, so we have that burden of responsibility, and I'm not saying it simply because it comes from the oath that we took, but we take that oath because we have that burden of responsibility internally next to us. We do this because we care. And so this calls on us to understand the magnitude, Yogoti. How do you care? How do you become selfless?
Yes.
And put your life on the line for the sake of others. And yes, there is a sense, Yogoti, whatever it is that you're going to do, there's a sense at which you're going to be inadequate.
Sis Kosi,
and there's a sense of helplessness.
I'm sorry just to add there, because I mean, you just struck the nerve there, Gangane, because when we think about serving and, you know, putting others first in serving, I mean, we saw President of South Africa come out and say, guys, we need to now put the economy at risk of our survival as South Africa. How do you think that mentally impacted Abantu Basamzansi?
You know, it's such a tricky, and tricky is an understatement. It's such an irony to have to navigate, because on the one hand, we're saying we can't survive. Our economy is already battered and followed. And yet, we need to be helped in order to be able to revive the economy again. So if we don't take the compromise, so it's a price that we have to pay for hopefully a better position to be able to fight with and for the economy. We need to be healthy to be able to do that. So it seems like, you know, we are navigating contradictory commitments.
So
and it feels like we are not winning either way, because there's a price to pay either way.
That price to pay, Siskosi, I just want to quickly, sorry to take you back again to our essential workers. Schools are also closed. Children are at home. You know, some children are needing their parents to be able to assist them navigate in catching up with schoolwork. These are parents that are having to leave their children every single day, go put themselves in the firing line, as you've rightfully put it, and then come back home and still manage to be parents. How do they cope with that?
They are overburdened. Their work, under normal circumstances, takes a huge toll. And Konamanje is even more so. And so we are experiencing and we are seeing visuals of them falling apart internally in some ways. And they need to do that in a sense. As much as Panagabata is strong to be able to hold, the people that are even more weaker than them. Because in many instances, they are the only people who they are not even allowed to visit their families. Their families are visit them. So the nurses are the only people that are there for them in their time of the greatest need.
Yes, this question.
They play not just a health role, they play a psychological, emotional, spiritual role. It takes a lot from them.
Yes, this question. I mean, we didn't get to experience the Easter weekend. And there's a lot that comes with the pressure. After the outbreak, to probably expand into that, because I feel that family members don't understand the pressures that of Nesi, and even cashiers. But after the break, we'll continue this conversation.
I think as South Africans, we need to give our essential workers like credits a buyer, because they wake up in the morning, bahamba to work, but begging impilo yabo pain, not only impilo yabo, because there's a coronavirus right now, yabo. So the more a puma exposed to coronavirus, this means uzobuya ezothelela even ngisha emndeni yabo, So I think they deserve like way too much.
Welcome back to Daily Thetha, and definitely they are providing service when it's mostly needed. And I think my brother Molo, we need to be grateful to these people, because they really are putting their own lives, before the lives of anybody else, in terms of sacrificing their time, their family time, their health, and really so much more. And that's what we're talking about. Daily Thetha, essential services workers, people who are at the front line. And right now we've got somebody on the line. Her name is Thembile Nkosi, and she is a nurse who is also working right now when the service is probably the most needed. Thembile, welcome to Daily Thetha, Mama.
Hi, how are you?
We are great, thank you. How are you?
Not so well, but okay.
What's wrong, Thembile? Not so well. When's this one?
No, as you know, man, this thing is scary for everyone, even including us. So, and most importantly, for our families.
Thembile, maybe let's take a step back. When you chose this career, were you aware where you have to really put your life in danger, and
yes, and I think the truth is, we deal with more infectious conditions on a daily basis. But then Lena, it's a pandemic. It's affecting the whole world, and the intensity is more. So sithukile sonke, to be honest with you.
Thembile, So sorry about that. Angela Guti, what is waking you up every single morning and making you put on your uniform? We
have to. If we don't do it, then who will?
Yeah.
Ayiwabuza umbuzo onzima nami angikho sure ukuthi ngikuphendule or ngisendele umlayezo kodwa engakubuza kona ukuthi do you feel that abantu that you are servicing appreciate umsebenzi wenu as abonesi?
Manje, yes.
Yeah.
Because I think manje they understand our role as nurses, as doctors, as anyone in health, as police, as everybody. Because remember, essential services usually are looked down upon. But right now, I think people actually understand our role in public.
And maybe Stembile ungasitshela ukuthi what is the message that you would like to tell South Africans? Because a lot of us are frustrated on a lockdown. People want to be able to go out. People want to go and meet up with their friends. You know, it's not open. Cigarettes are not available. And people are still moving around. You know, the lockdown is not really as rigorous as it still needs to be. What do you as an essential services worker want to say to South Africans?
Please stay home. Ukupuma today can cost your life, can eradicate your entire family. That's what they don't understand. So stay home, be safe. Being home does not only protect you, but your entire family and us as well. And it lessens the strain on us as essential workers. Because now we want to be home with our families, but we have to be out there and try to fight the coronavirus. But please stay home.
Yes, so wabegi puzu elithi stay home. When you have to be home, usebenza kanjani? How do you make it work? Because you can't just come home nje and it's business as usual.
So, one of the things established I'm home. Yes, I don't know if I've carried the virus with me home, but I'm grateful. I'm home with my family. And every day, you can see, okay, there's a chance that I don't have the virus, because the truth is we are also not tested.
Sure.
So every amalanga yahamba, they are okay. Then it gives you a little bit of a relief, you know.
Yeah. And then how do you get them to understand ukuthi umsebenzi wakho lona? Because I can imagine ukuthi yes, they know ukuthi unesi. They've always known that, but it must probably be a little bit more difficult manje ukuthi mama why utshwantse uye ko mmerekong, you know. How do you get them to understand gore there is a big role that you are playing right now?
It's so easy, you won't believe, because I've got young girls,
Yes.
So I tell them that mommy is superwoman right now.
Oh. You've always been superwoman, Stembile.
So they understand. So when I'm wearing my epaulette, can you see mommy is wearing her superpowers right now? She has to go to work. You know, so we play around about it. So it makes it easy for them to understand because they are still very young. And then when I come back home, I don't touch them. I have to bath. So I tell them, you know, Superwoman was dirty, so she used to bath a bit, and then, yeah.
Yazini Sithembile Superwoman Nkosi sibonga kakhulu kuDeli Thetha sithemba ukuthi uzoqhubeka umsebenzi omuhle niwenzayo. Once again, it is a big opportunity that we get to speak to the essential workers, but also after the break we get to look at the clinical psychologist perspective with Sister Nkosi Chiane. We come back. And the job is figuring us towards the end of our show today, but a lot has been learned, a lot has been considered. Pinde futhi sikhumbule ukuthi wena mbukeli unethuba ukuthi uqhubeke uxoxe nathi even beyond the show by utilizing our social media #Daily Thetha, Instagram, Facebook and Twitter is there to your disposal ukuthi nawe ke ukhiphe lento limanehlele esifubeni ufuna ukumbonga. Ngithi nakhona ngidlulisele ke umlayezo ukuthi I mean we saw a thread of amasosha who were put out on Twitter being admired as essential services, saying that they commit themselves to this journey, they commit themselves to what is happening. And this is where I want to bring in our clinical psychologist, Usis Kosichiane, maybe to ask Uguti, at this point, in their own space, how can we advise these essential services workers, Uguti Nabobaz Nagegele, as Usis Nalili said earlier, self-care already helps a lot of people around us.
You know, people that are in that kind of service work, it's very easy. Ukuthi babeke everybody's interest
before
their own, you know. And it's always important ukuthi bakhumbule ukuthi you can't run on an empty tank. So the best way to actually be able to serve is by serving yourself. Self-care.
Yeah.
Important.
Yeah, Cisco, I mean, more than just them, you know, being able to wake up every single day by they're also socially isolated right now. You know, and as you rightfully say, they are playing the role of being the psychological, the emotional, and every other support for their patients that are coming in and out of the hospital. Now, the president has said, we are going to see an even worse situation because right now we've tested only so many people. But once we get the testing rolling out a little bit faster, we might get even bigger numbers. How do they socially support themselves? Should they be sitting on social media? Should they be watching the news? How do they do that?
I think one of the things is that they need to be each other's shoulder. You know, because I see movie in the same pace. So sometimes mina ngingaba strong at a certain time, and somebody else other week. So that's what we need to be for each other in that moment. But secondly, there is online debriefing and counseling that they can take advantage of. To have someone listen to them and in a way carry them, even if it's over the phone or on a laptop. You know, psychologists are available and places like depression and anxiety support groups are there available on the line. So they need to take advantage of that as a way of replenishing their own energy so that they are able to give more to others. Be there for each other. Take advantage of the online services that are available from psychologists and other professionals. And thirdly, you know, to use social media to find an escape. So, you know, their phones are full of music, whatever restores them. If it means they can, you know, FaceTime with their children at home and so on, do that. Whatever is going to feed them and replenish their resources.
And Cisco, you yourself are an essential worker right now. I mean, you guys, I mean, your work is more on a contact basis. You know, I think you guys flourish well when you're able to consult where you can see your clients and you can feel their spirit and you can feel their aura. How are you guys surviving right now as psychologists and also at the front line of working with mental issues right now and any other struggles?
Yeah, you know, this is an unprecedented time. So in times of crisis like this, we do what we can, not what we would do. Because in doing what we can, what is necessary to survive, we can then, you know, continue to expand that space so that we are able to get to a position where we can work with the ideal. So right now, it is about containment within the boundaries of what it's going to take to protect both of us so that we can survive and hopefully in time be able to come back to the space face to face and hold each other in a different way. So right now we have to do virtual holding.
And just maybe to tap into the thought process, I mean, who have been leaning on their spirituality and leaning on their God and their beliefs in normal times. Now we're looking at a critical time whereby how do you encourage, I guess, those who are spiritually engaged to maybe use this time also to give themselves strength? Because this is a life and death situation, and for them, if they die, they affect their whole family tree.
Yeah. You know, many churches, Konamanje, have set up an online thing so where people can listen even if they don't have the audio-visual capacity. So a lot of that is happening. But I think the one most critical thing is that this period is going to ask of us to examine our concept of God, our relationship with God, which does not depend on external resources. It calls on us to look within and find the God within, as opposed to the God that lives in some church building where we go to on a Sunday basis.
Yeah.
Cisco, we've seen a spike in gender-based violence Some of the cases that have been reported have spiked in this time of lockdown. What would be causing that? And have we seen any other spike in other areas?
What causes that spike is the fact that people are like sardines.
Sorry, I can't go on.
Sardines.
I can't go on.
Like sardines.
Oh, go kenning.
Yeah, it can be a sardine. People are confined to a small space with each other.
Yes.
And what that does is that people feel like, as a dog in a corner. And what this does is it's actually testing what your relationship is. What do you have in what you call a relationship? Because under normal circumstances, it's distracted.
Yeah.
So we are locked down to ourselves and each other. And we are all of us being tested. The relationship is being tested. Our coping resources are being tested. And so people, the spike in violence is people taking it out on the weakling.
Yeah.
It is predatory, it is survival. They are doing what they need to do, what they think they need to do. That is their coping mechanism with feeling trapped right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And any spikes in other areas, mental health? Are we seeing more cases being reported, seeking of help?
Not only that, people that are substance dependent.
Oh, wow.
Are struggling right now.
Yeah, sure. Because
with addictions that are not able to get a fix, are struggling to cope right now. Many of them are ending up with the police and ultimately ending up in psychiatric wards for containment.
If you can, Mrs. Kosi, I mean, literally in just 30 seconds for me, I'm just thinking about the people that are losing their jobs. What word of encouragement would you give them who are living in anxiety? Because imsebenzi basaba izophela, abanye who not even started their internships. What would you be leaving them with this morning?
Hope. We don't have the luxury of hopelessness. So right now is the moment to redefine, to sit down with yourself. We have the time to examine ourselves, to examine opportunities that we can stay on the cutting edge of things. Okay. Some things will end opening up of new opportunities. So position yourself. Learn technology. It's going to be the only thing that's going to survive.
Siyabonga kakhulu Sis Kosi, you are absolutely amazing, and sithi sibonga kakhulu umsebenzi nawe wenzayo, of course, as a clinical psychologist. Usiza nabanye labe khona in every way you can, but also helping nababukeli bethu labahleli emakhaya lamhlanje to able to understand the dynamics of these things and also the challenges of my essential workers.
Melody, I think Sis Kosi has really summarized it. At the end of the day, if I was not tepo, we're not going to get out of this, and it's important for us to really hold on and cling to it, because as she said, we don't have the luxury of hopelessness. So right now, all of us, even if you don't have the anxiety on the financial sphere, even if you don't have the anxiety of you contracting this disease, it's that thing of all of us have to work together, because we are as weak as our weakest link.
And sithi sibonge again. Do remember that iDaily Thetha khona ke la ku SABC 1 ngomsombuluko till lesine 10:30 to 11:30, but also you can definitely catch us on YouTube. Nakhona ubone ukuthi konke kuphuthile sesikhona. Sithi sibonge from the iDaily Thetha family.